Alrighty, good evening everyone and welcome. You are watching TSSZ Plus, and this is a brand new episode of TSSZ Plays, finally branching out into some non-Sonic related games. This is TSSZ Plays Altered Beast. I am Lou, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We have a really fun one for you. As it turns out, we're going to be playing a little bit of a seminal Sega arcade classic here tonight on the stream, and that, of course, is Altered Beast. This is going to be pretty cool, because we are going to be taking a look at 3 unique versions of Altered Beast, with varying degrees of popularity. The arcade version, of course, which we will be playing through, hopefully, start to finish, and then we'll be comparing that to the Genesis version of the game, one that most people will probably remember, and the one that's currently up on the screen right now, the very rare and little-known NES Famicom version of the game that was only released in Japan. So this is going to be pretty cool, going to be a little different for us, and we're going to go ahead and kick things off right now, getting into a little bit of Altered Beast gameplay. Going to be a lot of fun. So, of course, the classic arcade beat-em-up style Altered Beast released in arcades worldwide throughout 1988, released on the, I believe, Sega System 16 platform. And let's go ahead and get things started here. If you're not familiar with Altered Beast, well, you are about to be. As soon as I remember how all of this works. There you go. Let's play, shall we? I'm loaded up on credits, so we should be able to just blow through this as we see fit. Of course, you rise from your grave, and the game proper begins. Take note of the different graphical effects, take note of how it looks, because we're going to be seeing that it's not going to look similar across all the different platforms that we can play this game on. So you gotta get it, of course. You power up your guy, I believe 3 times total to reach Altered Beast form. That was great. You can, of course, jump. It really doesn't get you very far. You can super jump, sort of. Kick, punch, all the usual stuff. Gotta fight your way through. Graphics looking pretty clean, of course, for an arcade game in the late 80s. Nice shatter effects when you blow a dude off into a million pieces here. And give him some time to come at me, bro. And he just annihilated me. That was not cool. Well, you get gut punched. That's how you take it. So your pretty standard arsenal of weaponry. You gotta kind of watch the range at which you attack, folks. Hopefully we get another one of those white wolves at some point, because I don't want to face the boss like this. Gotta be kind of careful with how you attack these guys. The oomph. Yeah, there's the oomph reflex. Yeah. You can punch up if you crouch down like this. Of course, you know, I'm super good at this. Arcade games, of course, styled to make you burn as many quarters as possible, so it's not the easiest thing right off the bat, especially because I'm not super good at this game. Oh, I missed him again. How? This is going to be a really painful fight if I can't even. I'm just trying to get up there, man. And it's not going to happen for us here. So I got myself some quarters. Indeed, I did get myself some quarters. And you're going to see that we're going to have as many damn quarters as we want.
Never give up.
Never give up. And that went off screen, didn't it? It's giving... Oh, no, there it is. Oh, it's too late, though. Well, we just got it. All right, so there's our first Altered Beast transformation. You can see that we are dying as the wolf. So you can just kind of kick back and forth with this guy and annihilate everything in your path, which is pretty fun. Also, I'm not sure if you can hear it, but you can kind of listen to the music in the background, because that's going to be a big differentiating factor between all these different versions as well. Do you hurt me? I'm not sure. It just kind of gives me a little thump. So that I don't care so much about. I think we have to take care of these guys before we continue.
Welcome to your doom.
Ah, welcome to your doom. Some classic sound effects in this. So we can just do this, right? Sort of. It's all about timing here, see? So if we're actually a little bit smarter about it, I think we can plow through this. Maybe not! But you know, you're not here for good gameplay. We're just kind of getting through Altered Beast as is. Definitely a little bit harder than the Genesis version that I was playing around with previously. And there's the first round done, so your evil dude pops up and he takes all your orbs away and you get whisked away to the next stage. I believe there's 5 in total. And away we go. There are these neat little interstitial images that kind of spell out the very bare-bones story of Altered Beast, where there's, I think Zeus or someone recalls you from the dead to rescue his daughter, or something like that. Here we are in a gross sort of swampy cave. Graphics, again, relatively impressive for, you know, late 80s arcade stylings. Nice explosion effects when enemies die. Not a huge fan of the environments, in all honesty. They're kind of bland and generic, all things considered. Oh, that was not cool.
Never give up.
And we have every credit in the world here. It's going to be very helpful for us later. As I'm sure I'm just going to get my ass whooped as we play through this. Get out of here, pink guy. Everyone has names. All of these bastards have names. I don't know what they are. I don't care what they are. He just ran right through me. That was rude. Look at it. So it's just all these gross dudes. So if you crouch here, that's how you kill those flying demon beasts, and then you gotta kick them when they're down. It is kind of satisfying to take care of all of these dudes at once. You know, when you have 2 or 3 guys stacked up, kick all these dragon dudes that come out of the gross ground. Why not? And there you can see he kind of sits, so that's a multiple hit takedown there. Gotta deal with him. Kick a thing. Gotta get those orbs. Orbs are key. We gotta get that Altered Beast transformation, of course. Take on the boss in style. Now, I haven't actually gone past the first boss in any of these. So we're just going to kind of explore the space as per usual. We can take care of him ourselves here. You would just dump a ton of money at this in the arcades to get through this much of the game. If you're about as skilled at it as I am, which is to say not very. Oh, you got away from me. You gotta watch those guys. It is not very forgiving, is it? Take him down. That was pretty quick. So again, 5 environments, I think, in total for Altered Beast. We are on number 2 right now. This gross kind of swampy cave, and it is kind of gross. Everything's just kind of dripping. Real savory stuff, I know. I'm really looking for one of those white wolves again. I'm afraid we're going to get to the boss and I'm not going to have my transformation ready to go, which would be unfortunate. I don't know how many there are. Is this not yet? Okay, so the stages are relatively long, too. I seem to remember from what I was doing with the Genesis version, they were not quite this long. Which is weird, because you would think that the home console version, they kind of padded out a little bit. Ooh, here we go. Alright, so it's dragon time. You have this nice AoE attack. You can also shoot. You gotta shake them off. You can also shoot these electric things. You don't get any health back from that. And this just completely blows the game wide open. You can see. Just everybody is toast now. And now it's Sonic Unleashed. Yeah, I mean, any sort of transformation, right? This, I mean, just fires across the field. Not a wolf. I think there's a wolf later. One of these transformations, I think, is a wolf. So yeah, this just completely... This changes everything. You are just an unstoppable force. Take care of these stupid flying guys with ease. These guys drain your health really quickly, so... Stupid sludge monsters must be disposed of appropriately. This AoE attack is great. Look at it go. Just take care of these flying dudes. Can you imagine how annoying this would be if we were still on the ground at this point? Welcome to your doom.
Welcome to your doom.
Welcome to your doom, folks. We asked for this. eyeballs! These eyeballs here! Wow, man, it is just destroying us here. We're gonna take a second. Real brief second. Or not. Can't pause the arcade game, unfortunately. I feel like it's a little loud. Relative to me. Now, you guys tell me if that's the case here. And he is done, so let's see if I can do a little audio mix here. Quick! Where are you? A little quieter there, maybe. How's that? That better? Can everyone hear me now? Not bad. Okay. He looks like he's just having the best time. Is she... Has she been crucified? That is unfortunate. Alright, so now we're in another cave here. I see we've changed leotards, for whatever that's worth, and now hornets on legs have captured me and sent me into the abyss, it seems. Alright, so now are there pits I can fall down? That would seem to be the case. Now there's just very strange turtles? I'm not on board with this turtle escapade here. Alright, so I'm just knocking this guy. Alright, that was important. That was a good get for us. What are you doing here, buddy? I mean, don't punch my knees. I need my knees. I gotta walk. Like, that's just rude. I appreciate that they're just bumping at me. Jump up to the second level. Just avoid those guys. Oh. Trying not to fall. Not that it really matters at this point, I guess. Damn! We got some cheers! Thank you kindly for the cheers. Those are probably not visible behind the screen, but... we see you anyway, Supersonic Swag. And we appreciate it deeply. Yes, indeed we do. Kick them while they're down. That's all you do, Mr. That guy has a name. I can't recall the name. And again, the beauty of arcade emulation is you just keep playing the game. Down the pit we go. What's the consequence for that? That's a whole life down, right? Certainly seemed that way. Oof. It's a good thing we have unlimited everything here, because this would be real painful otherwise. Oh, come on, really? Oh, we got that at least. Ouch. And down the pit we go, so that's an entire life. How many lives did we lose here? That's pretty sad. Oh my god. It is relentless, isn't it? Damn, man! Look at you just kind of bop up against them the whole time. That's, yep. Alright, yep, there you go. Thanks. Thanks, good, nice, good, great. No, I'm glad, thank you. Good gameplay. Can't attack you, can't get down. This is just how my life is now. Oof. How about some more credits? I like credits. Oh, man. Gotta get better at this crouching business. Oh, but they can punch downward as well, so that's not really an option, is it? You just kind of have to... Oh, and there they go. Ooh. Alright, well, that takes care of that, right? Oh, okay. We're just going to do that. Still waiting on that third wolf to give me a proper transformation here. Damn! How many do you want? That's just sheer force of numbers. That's what you need. Some nice foreground elements here. That's kind of fun. One thing that's kind of annoying in beat-em-up games like this is when the foreground objects actively get in the way of you trying to hit stuff. Thankfully, not really the case here because the enemies are so large. That's just rude. Man, how do people do this? No real recovery time either. So once you get hit, you are done. Like, look at that! What am I supposed to do? So that's a whole set of lives done. I can't even hit him. I can't even hit him. Oh, this is infuriating. I would hate this. Well, Well, finally, through like sheer attrition we did this. Can you imagine trying to go through this your first time? Alright, so now we're a bear. And do I just shout? Is this a sonic boom? It looks like it. Oof, oh my god. So I just... Oh, I fossilize them! That's unfortunate. And then I break through them with my sonic jump. So I can land on them. I can basically turn this into a platformer if I want to. Wow. So it's just like an extra step, I guess. That's kind of cool, though. I like the idea. Is there an aerial attack? There is not. There's a pathetic jump, though. So you kind of just have to fossilize everyone and then bop into them. I know the boss has something to do with blowing into things, and that sounds wrong, but let's see what the boss looks like here. It is a snail thing, dragon snail. That's gross. So I think you gotta push this guy back for as many times as you can before you just kind of die. Oof. I think these count as hits? Yes. The music has changed. Supersonic Swag. Altered Beast is probably one of the most poorly aged Sega arcade classics. So that's part of what we're going to be talking about here tonight. We're going to take a look at all these different versions of Altered Beast. Again, we're going to be playing 3 in total. And we're going to see if it really holds up over time here. Because again, this game kind of came out in 1988 in the arcades. In various markets at different times. Is he dying? I can't really tell. Yes, okay, well that answers my question. The music changed, so I assumed that he did, but it's tough to gauge sometimes. The Sega Scourge on YouTube. Adore this game. Love how the bear forms attacks or turning dudes to stone or sonic spinning them to death. It is a clever sort of attack pattern relative to what we've seen so far. Alright, so that's 3 stages down. We can see that, I want to say like Athena, her name is, I forget, is slowly mind-melding with a dove or a bird or whatever the hell it is. Now we're in Night Palace from Sonic and the Secret Rings. And these guys take forever to kick to death. Again, I guess a reasonably good-looking environment for, you know, the late 80s arcade game that this is. Nothing stellar, and certainly, you know, not mind-bendingly creative or anything like that. But acceptable, I guess. You know, you're not really here for crazy environments, right? You just want to beat up on some squishy dudes. Oh, see ya, buddy. And now we got floating demons. With interesting attack. Hitboxes. It's fine by me. I have all the credits in the world. That's part of the fun of, again, not having to stand there in front of the arcade cabinet in the late 80s and waste all your money. Okay, glad we got the power-up at least. Now we're just taking hits. See, the problem is there's no invincibility frames aside from you coming back after death, so you can just get trapped like that against walls, against the side of the screen, and just sort of get the crap pummeled out of you because there's 4 enemies and you can't hit any of them. So in a sense, that's not, you know, fair difficulty, but that is sort of the arcade mentality that a lot of these games had at the time. You gotta milk the quarters for all they're worth, right? Keep people putting them in, so if you hit a hard streak like that, you may be more tempted to put the quarters in the machine and keep going. You're like, man, I'm so close to the end of the stage, that was bullshit, I gotta keep playing, you know. Mom, I need more quarters! That sort of stuff. You can see these kind of rhino-looking guys in the background. Part of the difficulty is, you know, you're sort of limited in how you can attack stuff. You know, you can kick and punch ahead of you. You can kind of hit when things are coming from above you.
Never give up.
Here's another transformation. It's tiger time, it looks like. Or am I in cheetah men? This looks more like cheetah men. And I throw bowling. Oh no, I Hadouken! We Hadouken people. That's fun. So really, you just kind of bust the game wide open once you get into Altered Beast form, and then it's a lot more reasonable. And then you kind of wish that the screen would scroll a little faster, because now that I'm basically, you know, a borderline invincible, unstoppable demon beast here to eat your soul, you would think that we would plow through this a little faster, but I don't know. So yeah, the Sega Scourge is right. The arcade version, which is the one we're playing right now, is very quarter chewy. You know, you saw how many times that we, you know, got trapped up against a bunch of enemies, and just kind of suffered through it. If this was actual money that I had to put into this, then I would imagine it would get very frustrating quick, and you probably wouldn't want to get past, you know, stage number 2 out of only 5 stages. So, I mean, we've been playing this for maybe 20 minutes or so, and we're coming up on the end of the game here. And the pit deaths, which are super annoying. Especially considering knockback or something like that will just put you into them anyway. So can I just do this? Maybe not. That's... oh, okay, now see, that's a little annoying. Again, with no invincibility frames and no possibility of recovering from an attack like that. See, you can just kind of get bowled over. And those are one-shots. Yeah, so we're going to take a look at, again, the Genesis version of the game, which was sort of the, in a lot of ways, the more definitive version of Altered Beast, because that was sort of a big, not a system seller, but that was, well, I suppose, one of the big launch games for the Genesis that really moved consoles at the time. Now, the general thought at this point, I think, is that, you know, it really only sold super well and kind of moved Genesis consoles at the beginning, was for one of two reasons. Number one, it was sort of the encapsulation of the Genesis sort of arcade experience at home mentality that they were really pushing with the console when it first came out. Additionally, it was one of the few games available at launch, if I recall correctly. So, you know, your choices were pretty limited. And here we are, final stage, sort of weird, gross, dystopian place. A lot of this game, graphically, I think is kind of gross. Colors aren't bad. Oh, and we just destroyed that guy. And we have unicorns, buff unicorns. Everything's so buff in this game. What the hell? Your dude gets more buff as you go. Just gonna let the wolves fall down. How was I supposed to know? Always missing those white wolves. And unicorn man can jump at me. What are these, like, centaur-looking dudes? What are they? The dudes in Harry Potter that, are they centaurs? I don't know. So these angelic demon beasts. Whatever. Is there a drop-down button? I don't think there is. I kind of like the animation on him doing basically a lying down kick. And is that a rhino? Did a rhino just come at me and then he explodes into 1,000 pieces? It's not as bad as something like Narc, where actual people just sort of explode into a million bloody chunks. System 16, but I mean, it's reasonably good looking. I appreciate that getting hit from behind Minotaurs. They might be Minotaurs. I appreciate that getting hit from behind changes the direction you're facing. So I was, you know, fighting this guy here who I just can't kill for some reason.
Never give up.
And big baddie over there hit me, I turned to face him, and then, you know, unicorn dude's got a free shot in. This is crazy. Yeah, not a real big fan of getting annihilated from all directions here. Alright, these Minotaur guys are officially the worst. Not the Minotaur guys, the unicorns. I can't even focus in on the one enemy I want to kill. It's just throwing a bunch of stuff at me. It almost reminds me of something like, you know, Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, which kind of took a similar approach to the annihilate a bunch of dudes real quick, almost beat him up kind of style. Now see, he moves so fast, you get hit by it when it comes off the screen. There's 4 of them now? Oh, can I just turn it off? This sucks. This really sucks. Okay. So yes, it's very much someone said the quarter eating mentality. This is just crazy. You just die over and over. Look at all this crap. What are you supposed to do here? I mean, I can't target any single one of them. Someone should be keeping track of how many times I've had to continue. Like, ugh. What is that in the background anyway? It's just kind of like pink gunk. I hate the unicorn's attack patterns here. You almost kind of have to abuse the I just died invincibility. I can't attack any one of these guys. Oh, he even ducks. They're clever. That is AI, folks. And your attack range is really limited too, to just in front of you, and it feels like I'm punching through the guy. I'm just kind of taking my licks and dying because it doesn't really matter at this point. At least I can hit him in the air, right? Coming at me from all directions. What else is new? I would love to have transformed at this point. If I was better at it, I would have. Oh, death. Poison vines. Maybe. It looks like, I don't know, just scraggly rocks and stuff. And all the human carnage and suffering in front of me. I love that. Can we not, maybe? No, I'm not going to be able to hit this guy because stupid unicorn is going to destroy me here. What do I have to do?
Never give up.
Die. Alright, here we go. Last transformation here. Cat dude, I guess. I love that there's another one right after it all the time. I guess when you get to the last section of the stage, they want to really give you an opportunity to go full Altered Beast. So there's a serious Hadouken. So this kind of feels like the first transformation. You can kind of kick back and forth. You get a long-range projectile that you can kind of use across the stage. And somehow I got bopped there. Nice. Nothing for that, really. And we just keep dying, no big deal. And now you can just... So this, again, this is kind of the part where I wish it would hurry it up a little bit. Because, you know, we're clearly in a position to just annihilate everything on screen, but it's almost a formality to clear through all these dudes at this point. Through, onward, please. I love that you just kind of bop against this guy.
Welcome to your doom.
Welcome to your doom one last time. Let's see how it goes. What am I up against here? The biggest rhino telegraphed in the previous stage, I believe. Can I just kind of dash through him? I think we can. We're out of credits at this point, right? You kind of can. No real attack pattern to him, right? And again, we can just kind of brute force it. You would ideally want to use a real strategy here. To kind of counter his attacks and punch through him at the right time. Why not jump over him? You can, just like that. And that's... Oh, you know what you could do? You could do one of those powerful jumps, and then... So you can do that in midair. So that would be part of the strategy if I were doing this properly. Right like that. Oh, he's getting mad now, see? So that is, in theory, how you would do it. We're kind of taking the cheatsy doodle approach here. Is Never Give Up voiced by Arnold Schwarzenegger? Is everybody voiced by Arnold Schwarzenegger in this game? Not? Well, I guess not. This is a big old boss fight now. Oh, now he is bright purple. Yeah, see, like that. But you also have to give yourself time to hit him, right? So, I mean, you can just jump over him forever, but it's not going to give you an opportunity to actually attack him. So that's why I'm just kind of brute forcing it, because I know it works. You can just... I think you can jump and kind of clip him, too. We're going to try to do that a little bit here.
Never give up.
It's tough because you have to be really deliberate with the controls. Yeah, it's like that. You kind of jump and clip him. Right like that. And there you go. Not too bad. Now, I would imagine that would get pretty frustrating as an actual fight where you're not abusing the system here. But there you go. I think that's it. Jump, Hadouken, jump. Yeah, you don't have a lot of time, though. That's the thing. Because it's so... There's a lot of delay in being able to do something else right after you make a move. So there's our dove friend, and she is back. She's all normal. Don't you love when people just spontaneously become people again when they were, you know, random wild animals? That's fun. And, oh, happily ever after. It's like Beauty and the Beast. And there you go. So that, congrats, you killed an endangered species. Well, not every game has an environmental message, right? The rare pink rhino. Oh, screw that unicorn guy. Look at all of that. So there is Altered Beast Arcade. A la play, a la film, whatever. Team Shinobi. 1988 summer. And there they are. With lines across their eyes so you don't recognize their pixelated faces. The end. So there it is. I guess in theory I would get to put my name in here, right? But not this time.
Rise from your grave.
So we would go through it again, but we are absolutely not doing that. So we'll let that go. Alright, so that is the arcade version of Altered Beast. We're going to take a quick break right here. When we come back, yeah, right, it's all a movie. Who knew? Movie, play, whatever. When we come back, we are going to take a look at some of the home console versions of Altered Beast, comparing them to the arcade version we just played. That includes the Genesis version, which most people know, and the rare Famicom version, straight out of Japan, and we'll talk about each of those in time. We're going to take a quick break right now, though. Do not go anywhere. You are watching TSSC Plus, and this is TSSC Plays Altered Beast. We'll be right back. Alright everybody, welcome back. This is TSSZ Plus, and you are watching TSSZ Plays Altered Beast. The trivia time question this time around. Which Altered Beast designer went on to work on the first few Sonic games? At least the first one, the answer, of course. Hirokazu Yasuhara, credited as Carol Yas, in the credits of Sonic 1 as one of the game designers. I believe, if I read his work history correctly, Altered Beast was the first game that he worked on. So how about that? We're going to keep it moving here with a look at some of the console versions of Altered Beast now, starting with the Genesis version of Altered Beast, the one that most people will remember. And here it is, going right into the demo from there. You can kind of see the game's built for 2 players if you're that sort of enterprising type. Let's get into it. So, you saw the effects, you heard how the arcade version looks and sounds. So that already doesn't sound as good now, does it? And here we go. That very meaty sort of Genesis MIDI synth. The wolf use some work here, right?
Power up.
So this may look a little more familiar to some of you who would be more familiar with the Genesis version. It already feels a little bit smoother than the arcade version does. Music obviously not as good. Graphics not quite as good. I mean, it doesn't look terrible. And it certainly moves a lot quicker than the arcade one does, I can already tell you that right now. Seems like you have a bit more range to your attacks, which is nice. Not getting destroyed by stuff yet. And here's our transformation. That looks more or less the same as the arcade version, which is cool.
Welcome to your doom.
There's Welcome to Your Doom. That sounds pretty good. So let's see if we can fight this dude. Can we just do that this whole time? I'm not gonna push my luck too much here. Already a lot easier than the arcade version here. Now I'm kind of pushing my luck a fair bit. It's all about timing here, see? Just getting faster, and there we go, all on one life, which is great. So, wow, that's not good. My bad. You got it, hold on. There you go. A little quieter for you. Oh, that's nice of you. Here, how about we actually show that? Crush 14 cheered a ton of little bits. Thank you so much. That certainly doesn't look as good. And that music is terrifying. And that sort of really tinny metallic Genesis synth is in full force here. That dude looks gross. He just looks disgusting. I hope I get continues. I don't know how the console version is going to treat this. I do appreciate that it moves a lot faster when there's no enemies on screen. That is nice. And I like that I'm getting the wolves a lot quicker here, too. Kind of see these guys coming down from the ceiling. Again, looks pretty much... This level especially looks pretty much identical to the the arcade version, which is neat to see. A little less annoying with these dudes. No way I'm fighting the boss already. How did I miss that third wolf? Wow. Oh, well, this might be a problem. Nope, we're good. So the first stage was originally, or the first stage was initially a lot shorter. See, I don't like that it just kind of like parades across the screen and there's no chance for you to get it if you miss it the first time. Enemies don't seem as punishing either, which is good. No, I'm not sure what. What the hell was that? Yeah, as I say, the enemies aren't as punishing. I get annihilated by something. Now we transform, and we should have been there by now. Now we just... Oh, I love that effect. That sounds really nice. Very, very visceral. This AoE sounds great. Oh, these electricity sound effects sound awesome. Die. Everything dies. Oh, that sounds great. Alright, yeah, so I'm already liking this a lot more than the arcade one. A little more forgiving, a little more practical to play through as a home console game, obviously. That's the whole point. Now, I wonder if it's going to let me continue if I die here with no... if I'm going to get continues here or not. No way! Are you serious? That was hysterical. Okay, now there's different ends of the spectrum here. It's, you know, you got way too hard in the arcade version, and then you got way too easy in that fight. That was crazy. So we're at least getting to stage 3 here. And there again you can see more or less the same image as the arcade version, just pretty low quality, and that music again is just terrifying. Like, that would just haunt my nightmares. Far fewer enemies, not that, you know, I don't think the Genesis can handle it, but... Not as much going on screen, obviously. So we're just gonna kind of let those guys go. No real challenge there. Come on. Oh. There we go. So that's one. And, oh man, just nothing coming. Now, obviously, a ton more enemies in the arcade version, you can see. This is almost looking pretty barren by comparison. And that is an enemy. The turtle has come to life. And we are running out of health here. We're going to take one more hit from something, and that's going to be it for us. And that is it. Is that game over? That is game over, and we cannot continue. So that's neither here nor there, I suppose. So that's a quick look at the Genesis version of Altered Beast. More familiar and probably more beloved, and for a reason, I think. That is obviously much more forgiving, as the home console version should be. You know, you don't want something ridiculous like the arcade version coming at you, unless you have something like Unlimited Continues, which would make sense. So, closing out that one, we're going to head to the last version on our docket here, which is the little-known NES port of Altered Beast. So to kind of give you a sense of the timeline here before we kick off this last version here, as you probably know, the arcade version of Altered Beast released across the world at various times in 1988. The Genesis version coming out basically in each major region of the world in consecutive years. In Japan, it was released in 1988 alongside the console. In North America, 1989, again alongside the console. And in the European Union and that side of the world in 1990. The NES port brought to the console in 1990, as you can see on the screen here, and we're going to go ahead and start it up here. I played this one very briefly, and oh dear God, that's oh, that sure is a game. I mean, it's to be expected because we're playing on a much older console, a much less powerful console, but man, this is a big step back, huh? And I mean a big one. It's recognizable at least, but oh boy, this is bizarre. So you still have all your attacks. The range still sucks. So there's your transformation. You don't even get a separate screen. No rise from your grave. No nothing. I mean, that would probably be pretty tough to do on the NES, right? All your attacks are still here in theory, and you're grinding across the screen as usual, going through this graveyard scene. You have 2 lives left. Do you only start with 2? It sort of implies that you can get more. So there you can see no sound effects in sight here. So now we're going to take on what I assume is the same kind of boss. Oh. And bumping into him actively makes you lose lives. Oh, those guys come at you quick. Okay. Alright, well, this is just gross. I like that I think it takes the NES so much effort to put this guy on screen, it killed the background. And I think these guys come at you in a set pattern. That's what this looks like. Or pretty close to a set pattern. So I don't know how far we're going to get on this. There we go. Alright, so I got about half of my health and lives left. And here we go. I can't wait to see this part. There's the head. It's going to absorb all the energies, right? So it put me back at full health, I think. I don't know if the rest of the versions did that. He didn't even take my orbs and things. He just slowly dissolved. There's no interstitials. This is a completely different stage than the other versions. If you recall, the other versions had us in that gross, slimy cave. Not this one. Now we are just in some random field at midnight with totally different music, too. This might as well be a completely different game that we're playing at this point. Doesn't seem to have much of an impact on my health, either. Stuff's just kind of attacking me. It doesn't show the various stages of your hit points, either. So you just kind of end up dropping from life bar to life bar with no real indication of where you're at. So I really want to see at least the second transformation here. We're going to try to make it as far as we can. Those guys that drop are annoying, but... Oh, this is a totally different transformation, too. We don't get our green dragon friend. Now we get Home Alone 2 Bouncy Ball. It basically looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger and like Conan the Barbarian or something. And we have Rhino Head throwing fireballs at us. We have invincibility frames at least, which is a nice change of pace. I don't know if we're gonna make it through this one, guys. I'm working on it here. No, I don't think so. Left is on the right side of the screen. That is game over. That is stage 2. I feel like that would be a lot different than the rest of them. Because we just made it to stage 2 and it was already so different. Can we continue? We can continue from the start. Okay, I think we can handle this. Let's see if we can. As long as we do have the continue. So this already has a leg up on the Genesis version in that regard. We have continues. Unless I missed it in the Genesis version, but I don't recall there being any continues. I was doing a lot better the first time. Trying to take out these guys, and they are super annoying. I'm just getting annihilated here. There we go. Now I'm just waiting for our interesting transformation. It basically turns you into some weird hybrid of the bear from stage 3 and just a normal kind of running projectile, which is interesting. So this version obviously takes a lot of liberties with how the game works. Transformations stage is completely different. Lots of different enemies. There you can see those pounding demons. Let's see if we can make it through to stage 3 here. Okay. Try to take it all the way through to the end of the boss here. Can I jump on him? Unwise! This is not a platformer. Do not jump on the boss. Noted. So you just kind of have to watch how you deploy and work around his attacks. And there we go. Alright, good. We are moving on to stage 3. That is good news. Let's see what we got going here. There's the head. It's a lot less it's a lot less exciting, obviously. There's none of those weird interstitial bubbles. There's no big dramatic transformation piece. It just all kind of happens to you. Now we're in the cave, and my controller should work. That would be nice. And getting these guys off your head is a huge pain in the ass, considering my D-pad doesn't really work. So that's going well. Now we kind of hear the familiar music, so I'm not sure what's up with stage 2 in that instance, but definitely different. Powering up. So he just kind of seems to latch onto your head, and it sort of locks you into place when he does that. So I guess if he gets within a certain radius of you, he just kind of automatically locks on, which is not cool. I like that there's sprite flicker with 3 things on screen. So we're already almost at transformation stage. It doesn't feel bad. See, it's just kind of lops onto you. It doesn't seem to hurt you as much, though. Yeah, so Drake's Cove suggests that there may be unused content that inspired Stage 2 in this version. It's possible. And now recall that this came out a couple of years... Pick it up. Pick it up. Oh my god, he takes off like a spaceship. That's funny. Now we've got our dragon friend. But we don't have that AoE, it doesn't look like. So actually, Dragon Friend is pretty much useless, because he just gets like a stupid kick. Okay, so Dragon Friend feels terrible this time around, I can tell you that much. And again, he just kind of homes in on us. I'm not sure what the deal is. Now we're at the boss, so he just gets this stupid kick, which is awful. So we're going to kind of rely on this projectile punch to take out Mr. Eyeball. In a very tame version of this fight. I mean, come on, it throws 4 eyeballs at me at a time, which I still somehow managed to hit. Probably, you know, the NES sprite limitations. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the ultimate reason for that. And it looks like you can only kind of hit him with one at a time because he keeps some invincibility going. And the hit detection is not great. Can't fire while moving backwards, and oh, now he's bloodshot. Oh, guys, he got really high. And now it's up to us to show him the way and give him some chips. Gotta feed him, you know. You need some Visine, my friend. Product placement. No challenge to this one whatsoever. This is really disappointing, actually. And down he goes. Whatever, I guess. Not a whole lot to it, but there it is. So we are... I don't know how many stages this one has, because we've already seen one that was not in any other version of the game that we played so far. So I'm not sure. You know, in theory, we're looking at 5 of these stages. But there could be more, there could be less, I'm not sure. Alright, so now we're in the... Now we're in the cave with the hornets coming at me. Like they just kind of drop down. No physics, no projectiles here. Oh, he is huge. And the hitbox is way more fair. I can't jump up high enough. That didn't work. Okay, so it's like a double tap to get up that high. I did not know that. So we'll just wait till he runs off the edge. Again, with these versions of the game, it's almost too easy. It's sort of, wow. He said as he died and got the game over. Limited number of continues, it looks like. So that's about as far as we're getting in this one. Big C Lady is now following on Twitch. Thank you kindly for that. And that, I think, is going to do it for our look at that version of Altered Beast. Alright, so what did we learn here, folks? We had 3 versions that we looked at. We had the original arcade version, we had the Genesis port, and we had the NES port, which is still on screen in pause mode here. So I think let's take a couple of minutes here before we wind the stream down to kind of take each version at its face value and see what's good and what's not. So I think it's fair to say that Altered Beast as an experience really has not aged well. If we look at the arcade version, it's very quarter chewy. It's, you know, reasonably nice visually, but the environments aren't anything impressive. The transformations are interesting, I suppose. But the controls are really kind of stiff. You can imagine that this was one of those joystick kind of games, and it feels that way when you try to move around, with how sort of restrictive your movement feels. If you've ever played actual arcade versions of games that have the joystick controls, you know that, you know, 4 directions at a time and button presses are very specific, and it all has to be done very, very much in a cut and dry sort of way. It feels very restrictive. The arcade version obviously feels that way, and it's less than ideal. I would say that it's really underwhelming. And it's not ideal, especially, you know, 30 years later when it's just been eclipsed in so many ways. It's not really the game's fault, and I'm sure this was a reasonably good game at the time, but I think there's a reason that sort of, you know, people don't remember it super fondly, and that's absolutely part of it. Drake's side-scrollers are so dated. Well, in that sense, the sort of side-scrolly, arcadey beat-em-up has been largely surpassed, and we're not going back to that anytime soon. I don't think, anyway. You still get your stuff like your Street Fighters and your Mortal Kombats, and that's where that genre lives now. You're not Not too many beat 'em ups like this anymore because it's kind of it's had its time. So the arcade version pretty subpar. I think if there was each version kind of has their pros and cons. The Genesis port, obviously one that people are going to remember possibly most fondly. Again, it sort of picked up in popularity because of the limited amount of titles available at the Genesis' launch. Altered Beast was sort of the face of the big arcade experience at home push that the Genesis, you know, put front and center in its marketing at the time, especially when it first launched. And it's also really subpar. So if you remember, I think Genesis games when they first came out launched at something like $50 or $60 at the time, which was a lot of money, you know, for a home console game. And even though it is an arcade port and people would expect that going in, you're going to want more content when you compare it to something like any of the RPGs on the market or something like The Legend of Zelda. Bigger, more expansive home console experiences, to the point where for full price, I don't think even back then Altered Beast would really cut the mustard. Certainly not today. You asked, you know, anything above a few dollars or something like this, and you know, you'd be laughed out of the room. So the Genesis version controls are a little more responsive, a little tighter, which is great. It doesn't throw as much obnoxious stuff at you at once, which is nice. Obviously, it's a little more forgiving given its nature as a home console game. So more enjoyable in that regard. I would say that's probably the most enjoyable version that I played here. The other home console ports, like the I don't know, there's an Amiga ST port, an Atari ST port, there's a DOS port. I don't know how those fare. I'm sure in a lot of ways they're worse, as was kind of the case with ports like this. So the Genesis version, probably the one I would pick. Yeah, it's a Drakescope, $60. And remember, this is $1990, or actually $1989 that you're getting here. So if I go over here, I'm going to do a quick inflation calculation just to see what we're looking at here. So if I come in here, so we're asking, let's say $55. In 1989, when this first launched, to 2018, that's $112 in 2018. Would you pay $112 for what amounts to maybe 20-25 minutes of generic beat-em-up gameplay? I didn't think so. Tough sell. Doesn't play in Altered Beast's favor at all, unless it launched at a more reasonable price point. I don't know what a reasonable price point for that would be. How much would you pay for Altered Beast? Given its roots as a Genesis game like today, you know, $2-3 is probably reasonable for Altered Beast. Back then, I don't know. That's a tough sell. The NES port, obviously, it does the best it can. It could be a lot worse than it is. It has some shortcomings. The not seeing the stages of your life bar progressing is kind of annoying. The continues are appreciated. Again, there may be ones in the Genesis version that I overlooked. A fine port, I guess, so if you could pick that one up for like $10-20 back in the day, and it would probably be fine, especially if you didn't have the Genesis at the time and you really wanted to play Altered Beast at home. I guess that would be a reasonable way to do it, but it's really not the same experience. It just kind of feels like any other generic game. It loses a lot of that weird stuff that gives it character, the weird interstitial bubbles, or spheres, whatever, the transformation screens. It loses a fair bit of character, as you might expect, going from an arcade game and a 16-bit title down to the NES. It kind of happens. You know, you're lucky it plays at all, to some degree. So there it is. I don't know, bro. If it was the stand-up arcade machine, then yeah, and that's a totally different story. But we're talking about the Genesis version here. The arcade. So if we really had to look at it, arcade version really subpar given the sort of legacy of Altered Beast. The Genesis version, okay, given, you know, it was a launch title for the Genesis, and it tried to, I think it was a launch title for the Genesis, and it sort of tried to drum up the hype for the arcade experience at home. It was alright. Certainly not something I would have been happy paying full price for in 1989. Even back then, I know the system was short on titles, but you had stuff like Sonic the Hedgehog coming around the corner, you had all these crazy, fun Genesis titles. Altered Beast would quickly become an afterthought, I think, and rightfully so, unfortunately. And then the NES version, really just kind of a substitute if you can't play it anywhere else. So yeah, I think it's kind of fair to say the Genesis one is more or less the definitive version that you would want to experience. The arcade version, just too frustrating. to play unless you just kind of get it in emulation and then poke around just for the sake of posterity. And that's about that. So, thank you all so much for tuning in. This was a quick look at some of the... Oh, Drake's right. Mickey Mouse Cast of Illusion. That's a good one at launch. Solid games, even in the Genesis library at the time. Better than Altered Beast. At any rate, thank you all so much for tuning in. Next week, we're going to be back with more Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric on Monday. By the way, I hope you guys like this the newer start time that we've been doing. At 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we've been starting these streams, again, to kind of try to accommodate our international viewers just a little bit more. I know that doesn't work for all of them, especially if you're farther east in Europe. But we're doing our best. I hope you like the new start time. It's been working out well for us. And that is about it. Again, we're going to have more Sonic Boom next Monday, and there may be another one-off stream next Thursday as well. We're going to keep our eyes on that. And then the week after, of course, is March 15th, March 16th. That's going to be the big day for us, March 16th on Saturday. That's the South by Southwest panel coverage day. And oh, we're going to have hours and hours of non-stop coverage for you guys. I'm exhausted just thinking about it. Oh, we haven't announced too much about that just yet, but there's going to be a whole bunch of themed streams in the run-up to the big panel on March 16th. Tentatively calling it the Road to South by Southwest, which is cool. Crush 14's asking about wavelength. Right, so if you guys didn't know, I guess we'll talk about that a little more too. Coming up in March, we have a brand new show coming to TSSZ Plus. It's called Wavelength, as Crush 14 reminded us. That is our new radio show that we're going to be airing periodically here on TSSZ Plus. Think 2.5, 3 hours of themed music from Sonic and Sega games that you know and love, fan and community remixes, some thoughts from me from time to time. Really treating it as sort of a 3-hour radio show where I pop in every few songs as your DJ and your host to kind of give some fun tidbits. We'll maybe play a couple of fun games and we'll see how it goes. So again, Wavelength, the fun new radio show premiering on TSSZ Plus sometime in March. We haven't specifically said when yet, but you know, maybe use your imagination. You can kind of hack that out for yourselves. That's about it. I see we already have some feedback that the new time doesn't work for everybody, and not every time will work for everybody, but that's how it goes sometimes. No more details about Wavelength yet. We will get there in due time. For now, tune in next week for more Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric and maybe some other streams as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is TSSZ Plus, and this has been TSSZ Plays Altered Beast. I'm Lou. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you back here real soon.